How do you know that science has evolved so much that we have started to become self-aware? And over time, since we're self-aware, we're starting to question, like, why are we here? And we created God as a reason to live, because survival of the fittest just isn't reason enough anymore.
Yeah, it's called the God of the Gaps theory. All of a sudden, we don't know how something has been created or how something works, so all of a sudden, boom, God. That's kind of an easy one for us. So you're exactly right. I totally agree with you. I would say, though, again, if you go to the early scientists, they were after order. They saw design, and that influenced how they went about doing their science. What we have today is science and scientism. I think you're communicating kind of on the scientism side, which scientism says we can explain all of reality, everything from love to morals to relationships, based off of science. And a lot of people are saying that today. Science is more the empirical investigation, provability, theories, hypotheses. So understanding, okay, what are the differences here? Is my philosophy for life being influenced by scientism, or am I separating science from philosophy, the humanities, and understanding it that way?
A lot of people say to me, Cliff, if you can't scientifically prove something, it's not true. I just look back in that person's face and say, would you please scientifically prove to me that unless I can scientifically prove something, it's not true? And what I'm trying to drive home is the statement, unless you can scientifically prove something it's not true, is not science. It's philosophy. Okay? It's a philosophical statement. Unless you can scientifically prove something it's not true, that's not science. That's philosophy. I happen to disagree with that philosophy very strongly. Why? All right, I'm his dad, right? So, his biceps are a lot bigger than mine. But if he gets sick, I'm going to bring him to the best doctor I can. All right? But, although I respect medicine, when we go home and build our friendship, our love for each other, that has nothing to do with science. In fact, any relationship that you have has very little to do with science. It has everything to do with trust. Do you trust a person? I mean, if I have ever had the privilege to get to know you, I wouldn't scientifically prove you. I would look for evidence that you're trustworthy, that you're an honest person, that you don't lie to me. And then I would learn to trust you more and more, the more evidence you gave me that you're not a con artist, you're not a charlatan, you're not a hypocrite. You're a sincere person of integrity. You see, so if anybody ever tells you science wipes out God, just look them in the face and say, really? Your definition of science is so narrow. It's scary. What friendship do you have that's based on science? Do you have a scientific relationship with your roommate? Do you guys go on scientific dates? I hope not. I really, really hope not. Okay, is this making any sense?
Yeah, but like, you know how I said, like, we've evolved past survival of the fittest?
Yes.
So, like, now the best way for us to survive is to have empathy and compassion.
Yes.
And so that kind of, like, explains why we have friendship and stuff. We're keeping each other alive.
Okay, good. Okay, great point. So then here's the question I gotta ask myself. My love for him, my son, my love for her, my daughter-in-law, okay? Is that love programmed by my genetic makeup? Is it simply a chemical reaction? And I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm a minister at a church, and I got to work with deadbeat dads, and I got to work with deadbeat moms. And I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that no dad has to love their children. No mom has to love her children. And I'm afraid that I'm talking to some people here who know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm afraid that some of you standing right here, the odds are you had a deadbeat dad or you had a deadbeat mom. Others of you know that your parents sacrificed for you and they love the living snot out of you. No offense, but they love the snot out of you, okay? And you know that and you revel in that. But ma'am, I'm convinced nobody has to love their kid. You choose to love your kid. Now, are there genetic urges? Yes. But there are more than enough deadbeat dads that you know of to know that no dad has to love their child. See, I would argue that my observation of life and your experience of life is we have a free will. I can have a racist attitude towards her, or I can respect her as a human being created in the image of God. And I don't have to do either. I choose. And she chooses. See, it's that experience of reality that convinces me, although she's a beautiful woman with a beautiful body, she's a lot more than that. She has a soul, she has a mind, she has emotions, she has personhood, and if I have the privilege of getting to know her, we can build a trust relationship. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I have another question.
Yep.
What is a soul? Because,
Good.
like, well, I have to, like, explain it.
I like you. Keep
So,
going.
like, your mind, it's constantly changing, right? Like, it's just a bunch of neurons that, like, are connecting and reconnecting constantly to create, like, different pictures, like, individual pixels coming together, and it's constantly changing, right?
Right.
And your body is constantly changing as well.
Okay.
So you're just, like, a constantly changing thing here. But the reason why, like, you have one single identity, because other people you as having a single identity.
Right.
And so with, like, that identity, it gives you a reason to exist, right? And so without other people to perceive you, you don't really have any identity. So how do you know that, like, you created the idea of a soul? Because God is always watching you, always has perception of you to give you an identity. But without God, you would to exist as, like, a full person, you know? And so how do you know that you didn't create the idea of a soul so that it's like giving yourself identity and existence?
Are you a psychology major?
No, I'm a neuroscience major.
No, good for you. That's awesome. Congratulations. All right. He's a counselor. I'm not. You want to start?
Neuroscientist. That's pretty impressive.
That's very impressive. Well done.
Well, I would start with, you said the mind.
Yeah.
Not the mind, you mean the brain, right?
Because
you're automatically
created by the brain.
Okay, so you're granting a God.
It's not like a single entity. It's constantly changing.
So an atheist wouldn't say we have minds. They'd say a brain. But as a Christian, I don't know if you're a Christian, you'd say soul and mind. Is that right?
I think... Wait, an atheists don't think that we have minds?
No, it's just the brain. It's the brain.
I don't think that
neurochemicals, how you're hardwired.
Yeah, the existence of the mind is like, you can, like, some people believe that it's like a single entity, but it really isn't. It's just created by, like, constantly changing pictures.
So this fluid identity. Well, it's so interesting as a millennial that you're saying you get your identity outside of yourself from what people say.
Yeah.
Because you know most millennials don't say that, right?
Yeah.
The vast majority of millennials say you look inside, define yourself, look at your greatest dreams, what you want to do, and then you go outside. But there's nothing identifying.
You get it from the outside because, like, you take on the identity that's given to you. So, like, you are not your name is given to you, and then you continue, like, even though you're changing, then you continuously respond to your name because you take on that name as meaning that you have a core self that doesn't really exist.
Right. And so you assume a lot of different hats that you've either given yourself, you know, daughter, mother, neuroscientist, or somebody else has given you that. And that's basically what your identity is. And a big part of your identity is self-regard. How you view yourself, how you give yourself worth. Mm-hmm. So if I'm giving myself worth, I agree with you. I can't give myself a sense of self-worth, or I'll be depressed or egotistical. Let's just love each other. Okay, but Nietzsche would say, no, that's not how things work. The strong eat the weak. We're raised red in tooth and claw. And so how is that sensical whatsoever? You're just copying Christians who are all about empathy, love, that they get from the cross. Many atheists are even writing about this right now. Terry Eagleton's an author. John Gray. Basically saying, stop stealing from Christians. They are atheists themselves. But they're saying, we can adapt in some way and love each other, certainly, but that springs from the Christian faith.
So you have to believe in Jesus in order to have compassion?
No. It's a good question. So okay, we're taking those as different. An atheist out here can do good. Many of my atheist friends do more good than I do. But what is the bedrock of doing good? Where does morality stand? You go into a classroom today. A teacher's saying, be good. A student asks, why should I be good? We're not going to get into that. Okay, this is actually it's very prevalent right now. I was just reading an article on it, how a student asked a professor, and he's only in 8th grade, said, why should I treat somebody like this? And she said, no, we can't do that. We can't touch that in schools. So the atheist boy and the Christian boy do just as much good, but morally speaking, why should we do good? Why should we do right? Why should we love each other? That's the question.
Let me put it real simply. Has any guy said, I love you to you?
Yes.
What do you understand them to be saying?
That they love me.
Yeah? What does that mean?
They have very strong feelings toward me. If I die, they would cry.
All right. But I am convinced that if there is no God, we have reduced reality to matter and energy. Which means, what they really mean is, I want to have sex with you.
I was thinking of my dad, so I don't think. I'll think of somebody else.
But I agree with the professor who says, if there is no God, then when a man says to a woman, a beautiful woman, I love you, what he really means is, I have this genetic drive. I have this sex drive. And I would really like to satisfy my sex drive by hopping into bed with you. And the woman objected and said, well, that's not fair. That's not right. And the professor said, oh, yes, it's right. If all of reality is matter and energy, then there is no such thing as a free will where you choose to care for somebody. No, that person meets one of your biological sexual needs. And because they meet your need, you're attracted to, you want to be with them. The moment you lose your ability to meet their need, it's bye-bye. You're of no use to me any longer. See, now that's consistent atheism. That's what Nietzsche was getting at. That this whole value of, I love you, which does not mean I just want to have sex with you, but it means I am concerned about you. I care for you. I am interested in your success. I'm interested in your thriving and flourishing. That means that there's more to me than just complex neurons going up. There's a me, a soul, like you were asking earlier, and he created me for the purpose of respecting you, not using you like a cute Barbie doll. And that is what is wrong with lust. That's what's wrong with pornography. That's what's wrong with sex outside of marriage. Because what it's doing is, it's reducing ourselves to sex objects, to sex toys. And what Jesus Christ points out is, a person is not a sex toy. A person has a soul. There's a real person here. But when I understand that you have a soul, that you're a person with a mind, emotions, a conscience, then it is appropriate for me not to figure out how I can use you and manipulate you. Instead, it's appropriate for me to learn how I can help you, how I can help you become a success. And to be honest with you, that's why we're doing what we're doing out here. I'm praying with everything in me that every one of you at some point in your life is going to put your faith in Jesus Christ. Why? Because I think that's what it means ultimately to be a success. To understand the purpose of life and to have eternal life in heaven. And blast it all, I would like to see you in heaven. Now, if you got a problem with that, so be it. I want everybody here to go to heaven. I am convinced the way to heaven is by putting your faith in Jesus Christ.